Right. So now we're going to get into our chats and panels this afternoon. And our first chat we're going to have today is with Rob Schilling. So Spacetime Insight was 10 years old when it was acquired by Nokia earlier this year. Now, Nokia Software IoT, the group really focuses on advanced analytics applications for asset-intensive industries such as utilities and energy companies, transportation and logistic companies, and really, really more. So today, we have former Spacetime Insight CEO and now Vice President of Nokia Software IoT Applications and Analytics, Rob Schilling. So please, a round of applause for Rob Schilling.
Thank you. You said it all.
Oh, I tried.
That was great.
Thank you for joining us today, first of all.
You're welcome.
We have a lot of hungry innovators here, people trying to really get their thing, whatever it is, off the ground and running. So can you tell me, when you first started thinking about Spacetime Insight, how is it that you decided that you were going to focus on machine learning and IoT applications? Because there seems like there really was, a breadth of things to choose from. A lot of things were starting to take off. How did you decide, this is what I think we need to do, and this is how we're going to move forward?
Yeah, no, thank you. It's great to be here, and I'm happy to answer that question. It was really insightful seeing the presentations today because it really brought back a lot of memories of kind of how we started and how we got focused and what we're looking to do. But as a small company, especially, you have to be a disruptor. You have to differentiate from the bigger players that are in the market. And if you don't do that, it's going to be a long haul. And it's a lot of work regardless. But if you're not disrupting and you can't give a value proposition that's compelling, then it's going to be even more difficult for you. So for us, we saw where machine learning was getting tied into rich visualization at an early stage. Energy was the perfect vertical to go after because of all the challenges that they've always had, but that they're now embracing, right, with two-way flow of energy, and now it's coming in from multiple sources. The complexities are there. If you can solve problems in the energy market, you can solve problems in almost any asset-intensive industry. So that's really where we started, and then we just kept going after it. The other thing that's key is data, and as you saw in all the presentations today, and I think one area of recommendation is getting access to data is critical on all fronts, and if you can do that, whether it's a paid pilot or a free pilot, with your customers or prospects. Go after that data, try to capture it so that you can make sense of that data in a meaningful way. Yeah.
One thing that happens to startups is they'll start to move forward, and then something will come up, and they'll take a step back and say, maybe we need to rework this thing. Maybe we need to try a different strategy, a different approach. Were there any challenges or roadblocks that came up against Spacetime Insight that maybe proved to be defining moments in the way you ended up taking the company?
Yeah, there were many, to say the least. One I know that for most people is getting funding. Is always a continual process. And again, to do that, you got to differentiate and provide value. The one challenge for us was getting to velocity. How do you get to repeatable business so you can scale your business? And that's the biggest challenge. And I see that with everyone's presentation today, is everyone has a great idea, everyone's got great technology, but how do you go embrace the problems that your customers have and be able to scale that? And that's a big responsibility of the CEO and who's running the company, is to really stay on point, keep people focused, and then just really beat that drum, if you will, on a daily basis of what we're all about. But as everybody knows in the room that's at a startup, saying no is hard as well. But you got to keep that focus. Yeah.
Is there any particular example or something that sticks out in your mind of, this was a challenge we faced, and this is exactly how we overcame it? Is there anything, a story you could share with the audience around that?
Yeah, I mean, we got into, so not only were we solving problems for energy customers, but then we wanted to get into logistics customers as well, especially to scale the business. As we know, wrong, right, or indifferent. Utility companies usually are regulated. It is a longer sales cycle. So we moved into transportation. We got FedEx as a major customer. We broke into it at a high level. And this is one of the lessons as well for small companies is, when you get introduced through your board or others, take advantage of that. But you got to execute. And you have to deliver. And we went into a project where it was really a full rewrite of our software. But we did that openly with the customer, and it's been a tremendous success. But it was a hard one because they kept us locked into a certain group within that company for 5 years before they allowed us out to other departments. So we spent a lot of time and resources, but it really benefited our energy customers as well.
One thing Spacetime Insight, did a really good job of is, diversifying, making yourself unique. You can sit here and tell startups, whatever you do, make it unique, make it different. But can you give advice, or can you talk a little bit about what you think made Spacetime Insight so particular, and what made Nokia say, this is it, this is the company that we want, and this is why?
Yeah. It's not magic. I mean, it's really going after and finding a problem that, hopefully a large set of customers have, and then trying to solve that. And that was something we were able to do for a couple of reasons. One is we built an advisory board early on, and I brought people that I knew and people that I didn't know, but from both the business and from IT. So I wanted a mix. I wanted both perspectives because they both live completely different worlds, especially in the energy space, as you all know. And that was great. So I got a couple of CEOs from our current customers that were just retiring. They came on. I also brought somebody from a non-vertical that we were targeting for other balance. So I wanted a mix, and I think that's really important. And not just have the names, but to be able to meet with them regularly, have them really go through, hey, does this value prop make sense? Would you buy this if you were the decision maker, back in your old role? Where do you think we should innovate? And really challenge us because, nobody likes, self-criticism, but you want that constructive criticism, so you want it often. And that's what we did. And we also had an acting CIO out of Florida Power and Light, which was a major customer, to really then talk about, real problems every day that person was facing. Yeah.
Sometimes, exit strategies can be hard. And how do you start to determine this is the right fit in terms of a sell for your company?
Yeah.
What were some of the things that you took into account when you're looking at, is this the right fit, and is this really the time to sell?
Well, I mean, the other major responsibility of a CEO in a small company in particular is what is the right time. And it's not about an exit. It's about, again, building the right solutions and solving problems for your customers. And then hopefully the right exit will come. When it came to Nokia, I mean, a lot of people don't know, right? Some people think it's a Japanese company, right? It's a Finnish company. It was the handset company. They're $26 billion in revenue. They have a hidden secret of a $2 billion software division, and they want to move into enterprise. And they're focused in enterprise in transportation, energy, public safety, public sector, smart cities. So we fit in extremely well because we're selling into those verticals. We have over 30 major customers. All were referenceable, and talk to them as well. What's the value proposition? Why are you working with this small company? And then we became part of Nokia. But more importantly to me as a CEO was they took care of our shareholders, all of our employees, and the most important thing was our customers. So they're doubling down in the investment in our energy solutions that we have, and they're not leaving that market, and so that was very important to me. So it just felt like the right time to go have a change for the company, and then see it to the next level.
So let's move to post-acquisition. What types of challenges is Nokia Software trying to solve in the energy today? What sticks out to you? What do you think is maybe this is the one or two that we're really focusing on? We've seen companies here today talk about customer engagement. Mm-hmm. How do you increase customer engagement? And then a lot of things around technologies on the transmission and distribution system, visibility and control. What are you guys focused on?
So Nokia as a whole now can do private LTE, private networks, all at 5 nines, right? And they can do it at a much more economical cost than the carriers. And they can do it soup to nuts. So now we can put the compute at the edge. We can scale IoT devices at scale. We can do the onboarding, the network security. But more importantly, we can give insights to our customers. And that was really the vision of Spacetime. So at any time where data flows or you have an event, or hopefully pre-event, because we're really about predictive, prescriptive analytics. So pre an outage, pre an asset failing, no matter where they are, is really giving that insight, to our customers. And that hasn't changed. So that's still the ability to then go take action on that data. And now we can do that at scale.
So what outstanding advice do you have for these young entrepreneurs, innovators that are here really trying to, sell their company, sell their pilot pitch, and really get that thing out there? What advice do you have for them?
Well, 7 years is the average, so know what you're getting into. And an investor friend of mine told me that, and I looked at him like he was nuts. There's no way it could take 7 years to have an event. It took me exactly 7 years to the day. So one, you got to stay passionate, and you got to stay hungry. Be careful where you take money from, because there's an old philosophy that all money is good. That's a bad philosophy. Not all money is good, so be careful there. And then be passionate, and don't just put up a sign that we're passionate for our customers. You got to live it and breathe it. Customer success is everything. You gotta just be there for your customers, and then the rest hopefully takes care of itself. But there's a TED Talk on grit I just recently watched. I think it's fantastic. You gotta have that grit, and when you do get money, treat it like you're never getting another dollar again, because there's you tend to, when you get money, to go try to spend it real quickly, like in every aspect of life. You want to preserve that. Cash is king, revenue is king, and then customer value is critical. So, yeah.
So we have just a few minutes left, and I wanted to ask you this question because as a leader, an innovator, a disruptor, there are certain aspects of your personal life, the values that you live by that really drive you forward to get these things done. You said, 7 years was the average period, so patience, it sounds like determination. What are some of those really core values that you live by and you live out in your job that you feel like have really led you to be where you are in the success that you have been up to this point?
Well, grit is definitely there. I'm extremely also competitive, so you got to know who your competitors are. That's another thing. I think when people are asked, homegrown's a nice answer, but you got to know who your competition is, because that, I think, you got to rally around something as well, and I think that really helps. So being competitive, but then again, I learned at an early day in my career in terms of working with big customers, and I worked with a major one being Cisco way back when, and believe it or not, they had no backup and recovery. So the day I got the account, they were down for 4 days. That was my introduction, right? So I learned how to service an account, service it well, and also then understand when's the right time to try to go position more business within that customer. But if you're there for them, there's nothing more than being loyal to your customer base, but being there for them, caring for what they're doing, because there's some problems you can't solve, right? There will be outages, especially in the energy business. So as much as we want to predict those, you want to be there as well for them. So I think it's just commitment. If I summed it up in one word, it's commitment, and then tied in with some grit. Yeah. So
we have about time for one question from the audience, if it's out there. Does anybody have a question that they'd like to ask Rob? This is a great opportunity. Yes.
I think you were talking about the shift from a large company into a startup?
From startup,
right?
from startup to large company.
Startup to large company. You know, I'm a 24/7 person, so for me, it's not much different. But I would say that, you know, you can start to relax a little bit when you're part of a bigger company, you know, which is not always a good thing. So you got to keep that, you know, we try to stay independent, and that's what Nokia is trying to do with us, is keep us relatively independent so that we have that small company mentality. We still fly the same way. You know, we fly economy. We use our own upgrade. You know, we use our own miles. You know, and you just got to live by that. And so you want to keep that mentality because that keeps you hungry. And so I think that's the biggest one. You got to stay hungry, and you want to stay towards you know, customer success. But you know, you're still going to work just as hard if you have that in your DNA. But that's the other thing, is guidance. You know, hiring is not easy, especially at a startup. You don't want to make mistakes anywhere where you're hiring. It's a little easier when you're at a very large company, right? When you do make a mistake, it's not as impactful. But I would guide folks where you think you can't release someone that's disruptive within your own organization. You always can. You will survive, and it's better to do it early. And move forward towards what your DNA is as a company versus, you know, someone going against the grain. So just a little bit of extra advice there.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
So thank you. That wraps up our time. That wraps up our interview.
Thank
Can
you.
everyone please join me in giving Rob a round of applause?
Well,
Thank you for today.
Appreciate it.